wanting to bless. Let's just pray that He bless in a special way. Good morning. Good to see everybody here today. I'm not sure what I did with that microphone, but laying on the piano. I just thought of it. There we go. This week's worth of service, and I plumb forgot what we do up here. Bear with me just a minute. I'll put this on. Here this morning. Glad we could get back to the house of the Lord today, and hate that we had to take a little break, time away, but I guess COVID's no respect for a person, no respect for churches. Just have to kind of do what we got to do, and but I know the Lord's gracious and merciful, and sure am glad that seems like everybody's getting better, is better, or getting there, and so we're praying, continue to pray for some and things, but sure are glad that we can be back this morning. We sure do appreciate the Lord and appreciate each one of you for being here today. If you got your Bible with you, I'd like for you to look over in the book of John chapter number 14. Book of John chapter number 14. And you can just find your place there and hang on to that for just a few minutes, and we'll get over there to it. Book of John, chapter number 14, and verse number 1. We come to Christmas time, and I know we're pretty familiar with the Christmas story. One of the things that we highlight, and a lot of times we like to focus on when we talk about the Christmas story, is that when Jesus was born here in this earth, He didn't have a mansion or a big house to be born in. In fact, the Bible said as they came into Bethlehem, there was no room for them in the inn. And therefore, His birth, coming into this world, took place in a manger. Ideas on that, what that might have looked like or been like for those people, but ultimately what we can say is this: He was born in probably one of the lowest, worst conditions thought of or imagined. And simply for the reason why was simply there was no room for them anywhere else. And that phrase or that theme would follow the Lord all through His life. It went further, it went deeper than just at His birth. It was something He would experience everywhere He would go, no matter what He was doing or where He was at. So in the beginning there was no room for Him in the inn or in a house or anywhere. He was born out in a barn or a stable, something like that. We see His ministry begin. The Bible talks about there in the book of Luke. Early in His ministry He went to the synagogue in His local community, as was the custom in that day. And He walked into the synagogue that morning, and He took the scrolls that the priest would read, and He went to the prophet Isaiah, and He said, "Now is the acceptable year of the Lord. The gospel's been preached to the poor, the lame are being healed, and it's now the acceptable year." In other words, this is what you've been waiting for. And you know what they did? The Bible said they were at first they were astonished, but then they were angered, and they ran Him out. Not only out of a local synagogue, but at the temple down in Jerusalem, the big temple where everybody went annually to offer up sacrifice for the Passover. He went down there and tried to preach to them and reach them. And you know what they said? Get out. There was no room for Him in the inn, and there was no room for Him at the church. Not only that, but according to the Bible, in different places, one place He went into a coast or into a community, and there was a man there who'd had demons for years. He'd bound up out in the cemetery. They called him Legion because of the thousands of demons that had infested him, and no doubt he had been a problem and a nuisance to that community, and they didn't know what to do with him. But Jesus came and He took that man and He cast those demons out of him, and He cast them into their swine, and the swine ran into the water. You know what the people said that day? Get out. Not only in that community, but there was Samaritan communities, other communities He went in and would have done miracles, would have preached the gospel, would have helped them and reached them. And they said, we do not want you. We have no room for no place for a man like you. There was no room for him to be born. There was no room for him at the church. No room for him in people's communities. And right on down through his life, we see him continually. There's not a place for you here. Not a place for you there, not a place for you here. Until finally it came to a place and a point when men decided the only place for a man like Jesus is we'll just have to take Him out and nail Him to a cross. That was the only place they wanted to put Him. You ever thought about that? The crowd cried for it. People cheered for it. They could have released Him. But instead they said, give us Barabbas. Old Pilate down there gave them a second chance to reconsider or rethink their decision. He said, I'll wash my hands of this. What do you want to do? And even the more, they said, crucify Him, and let His blood be on our head. They said the only place for a man like you is to be out on a hill far away, a place called Calvary, and die a sinner's death, a transgressor's death. And cursed is everyone that hangs on a tree. And that's what we did to Him, by the way. I know as we read the Bible, we read about the Jews, we read about a culture, a tradition, and a time, long time ago. But in all reality, that's a picture of mankind, humanity. Our Lord came to us and we received Him not. We said, there is no place for you here. And I'm going to tell you something, I'm glad the Lord's not like me. Because what I would have done, and I don't want to speak for you, I can only speak for me, but I dare to say what our attitude would have been, what our mindset would have been, is what you have done to me, I will do to you. And when He came unto us, we said we don't have a place for you. But in John chapter number 14 and verse number 1, the Bible said, Jesus said, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. But listen to this. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. We didn't have a place for Him, but I'm glad He went and prepared a place for us. You know what that is this morning? That's called God's amazing grace. Mercy is not giving somebody what they deserve. What I deserve for how we treated the Lord and how we've transgressed against the Lord, we deserve the punishment and the hell and the judgment and condemnation that Christ took for us. And He did not give me what I deserved. I deserve to be rejected. I deserve to be outcast. I deserve to be left to die and suffer for my sin, but the Lord did not give me what I deserved. But instead of giving me that, He gave me mercy, and He pardoned that by what? Grace is He gave me what I did not deserve. He gave me what I did not earn or I did not deserve. And though we didn't have a place for Him, by His amazing grace, He went to prepare a place for us. While we said, you can't dwell with us down here, He said, I'll go make a place where you can dwell with me up there. And as His people this morning, we suffer, we feel the effects of what it is to be His follower. There was no place for Him in this earth. And you know what? There's no place for us a lot of times. We're being kicked out, left out, and pushed out of
of schools, out of government, out of our land. In all these ways, I'm feeling more and more like a stranger. I'm feeling more and more like I don't belong here, and the church should feel that way. We sing that old hymn that says, I don't want to get adjusted to this world. And if we feel weird and we feel strange, and oftentimes we don't feel at home down here, or we feel like there's not a place for us down here, well, guess what? We're in good company. Rejoice and be glad, for Jesus said, what they have done to me, they'll do to you. If they rejected me, they'll reject you. If they didn't have a place for me, this world and its spirit and its way won't have a place for you either. Be glad that we're not at home. I'm glad when there wasn't a place for Jesus down in Bethlehem, and there wasn't a place for Jesus in the community, and there wasn't a place for Him down at the temple or the synagogue. I'm glad He didn't try to fit in. I'm glad He didn't try to readjust His preaching or readjust His views or the truth. I'm glad He didn't go to changing and compromising just to try to make a place down here. I'm glad He was who He was. He is who He is. He's God and He's immutable, and He does not change from generation to generation, and He doesn't change for anybody. And you and I ought to follow in His footsteps. Let's don't try to get adjusted. Let's don't try to fit in and make a place. Hey, let's bear the reproach. Hey, it'll be all right. Let's be a peculiar people, a royal priesthood that's set aside for His glory and His honor. It's all right if I don't have a place down here. I got a place up there. I thought about last night, Christy and I were trying to do some last-minute Christmas shopping. And she was one way there in Johnson City, and I was another way. And I called her, and I said, what are you doing? And she didn't have Verity with her. And I said, hey, your mama's got Verity. We could go out and eat. And so I said, hey, it's a great time, opportunity. The only thing is, it's the weekend before Christmas, or leading up to Christmas. Everybody's been in Johnson City shopping, and I don't know if there'll be a place. I called here, I stopped there. Everybody said we're full. We're an hour, or some places almost 2 hours. And there is no place. And I thought, what a sad feeling. What a sad thought to think, man, we're hungry. Probably more than anything, we just wanting to hang out together for a little while, but we needed a place to sit, and a place to eat, a place to spend some time. And in all this city, don't seem like we're going to find anywhere to go. It's a pretty sad feeling to think we can't find a place. And I thought about that. It is sometimes a sad feeling when you think you don't have a place here, but we can rejoice this morning and have something on the inside, peace and a joy that the world don't understand. There's been plenty of people thought, man, I'm happy, I'm satisfied, I'm settled, I've got a place down here. I'm the richest man. I'm the smartest man. I'm the most liked man. I've got friends. I've got things. I got stuff. And boy, I'm looked at and I belong. And boy, they thought they had a lot of peace and joy and a lot of confidence. But what they don't know, that's not a real place. That place is going to go away. It's real easy. Let me say it like this. When you're trying to find a place down here, it's real easy to lose your place. My brother-in-law lived down in Fort Lauderdale for several years, and man, his guy like us grew up around here. He said that it's a place like you've never seen. He said the hard part about this place down here, he said it's a land of Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Jaguars and all these expensive cars and homes. And just when you think you got the newest, nicest, most expensive car in town, you pull up to a red light to find out somebody else just bought a nicer car. In other words, just when you thought you'd found your place, somebody will come along and knock you out of your place. And so this world doesn't really offer a whole lot of security. It don't offer a whole lot of confidence and a whole lot of comfort. It's hard to find a place. But aren't you glad this morning that nobody's going to take your place? Hey, let me say it like this. I'm glad I can't lose my place. Going down to that restaurant last night, and I got my name in there. We finally found it wasn't my favorite place, but we agreed to compromise on a place. And it is the shortest way we could find. I got my name in, and I gave them my number, and I had my phone ready. In fact, we sat right beside the hostess desk. I was afraid I'd lose that place. And if we lost that place, we might not get another place. And when that phone rung, I was going to be there to get my place. But I'm glad this morning that in eternity in heaven, hey, in that world, nobody's going to take my place. I don't have to live in fear. I don't have to live in worry and doubt and misery and aggravation. If the Lord calls today, my place is ready. My place is there. And the devil can't take it. The world can't take it. Nobody can take it. And I can't lose it. My place is settled this morning. Thank God for that place. Glad he went to pray. Though we didn't have a place for him, I'm glad he prepared a place for us. It's my place this morning. Boy, it's a good feeling when that phone rung. Miller Party, we got your place. Ain't it going to be a good day? And I know, man, I want to live and enjoy what God's given us as long as he wants us to live down here. And there's a work to do and people to love and a family to cherish and all that. But ain't it a good thing to know as the signs of these times are coming about and we're in the last days of these last days. And all that's, aren't you glad when that name is called? When that roll is called up yonder. Thank God we can be there and be there with confidence this morning and say, my name is written up there. Thank God for the place. And I thought how gracious it was of the Lord to give us that place. If we'd had to work our way for that place, we didn't work our way to get a place, we sure can't work our way to keep a place. If we had to try to work, do enough or not do enough, according to which way you look at sin, omission or commission, surely I would eventually have done enough to lost my place. Surely I would have not done enough in some ways to have earned either my place or done enough to keep my place. But if I was saved by grace, that place is kept by grace. Now the Bible talks about an accuser that we have. A devil, the devil. Capital D, devil. You know what he's always doing as an accuser of the brother, accuser of the believer. He's accusing, bringing accusation against the church. And you know what? I'm guilty of a lot of that stuff. I didn't get my place because I was innocent. I got my place because I'm pardoned. There's a difference in it. And he's continually bringing that accusation of my unworthiness and how unfit and how undeserving, how I ought to lose my place, how God ought to take my place, how I don't deserve my place. And I'll just have to be on, he's right. I don't deserve my place. I'm not owed my place. I'm unfit in myself and in my own good deeds. I'm unworthy. I'm unholy. I'm unrighteous. I don't deserve my place. But I'm glad where my sin abound, the grace of God doeth much more abound this morning. I'm glad his blood speaks for me, don't you? And it claims my place and it keeps my place. In spite of the mess I am and the faults that I have and the shortcomings I have, his blood, his grace keeps my place this morning. I owe it all to him, don't I? Therefore, since I know, Jesus said, let not your heart be troubled. You don't have to live in fear and dread. Here's what you have. I go to prepare you a place. You didn't have a place for me, and as a follower of mine, there won't be a place for you. But I got a place for you up there. I thank God for His amazing grace this morning. There's a song, I believe the McCameys sung it. It said something like, I know how I made it. I made it by grace. And that's all we can claim this morning. I thought about this week. The Lord didn't come to give us a life of ease, but He came to give us a life of abundance. He didn't come to make life easy, but He came to give us life abundantly. Now, it's sad we live in such a carnal world and such a world that's fixated on this place that when they hear about abundance and the things like that, we automatically think material. We think money, we think cars, homes, lands, health, wealth, prosperity as far as this world goes, and that's not at all what the Lord was talking about. Right. We have an abundance of peace and joy. The greatest thing that we ever have to face in life is taken care of as born-again believers. Now, I was praying hard for all our people. And I for a couple of days, it was just COVID. My goodness. And then other things happening in our communities, accidents and things. And I thought, Lord, I don't want to lose any of them people. Lord, I don't want to, and I know it'd be better off. But Lord, we don't want to lose our people. We love our people. God, help our people. But at the end of the day, had God called some of us on out of here, we would have a peace, wouldn't we? The greatest fear, the greatest dread, the hardest thing in life, most dreadful thing has been taken care of. What is that? If things are right in the judgment, what else matters? I mean, I ain't saying there ain't things that matters, but ultimately at the end of the day, if things are right between us and the Lord and we have a place up there by His amazing grace, what do we have to worry about? What if I die? Well, you'll just wake up in that place. What if what all they're saying, preacher, happens? Our place is going to blow up and burn up and dissolve. Let it burn up, let it blow up. I'm just going to that other place. I know I say this every little bit, but that's why so many people are dreadful, fearful, depressed, and worried and anxious, and they're trying to outlaw this and outlaw that and do away with all these things because they know if they lose this place, they don't have another place. This is as good as it's ever going to get and as good as it'll ever be unless they get born again. And if I lose this body, if we lose this earth, if we lose this place, I've lost my happiness, I've lost my wealth, I've lost my stuff. I don't have anything else to look forward to. I'm glad I've got another place this morning. Somewhere to go look forward to. And we'll go in that place, not singing or thinking or talking about what all we have done or what all we have seen, but we'll go in that place singing, man, I know how I made it. I made it by grace. When you get in that place, I don't deserve this place. I'm not owed this place. I wasn't fit for this place. But by His amazing grace, because He was willing to come into an earth, a world that didn't have a place. He's made a place, and not only made a place, but He's made a way for me and you this morning. He deserves it all, doesn't He? I thought about these gifts and things that we buy and do, and I know a lot of times that's a time when there's somebody you feel like you're indebted to or you owe. You give them a gift, but ultimately, I think the greatest things about giving gifts is when you just give it to them out of the abundance of your heart. Out of love and out of kindness. And the Lord could have done without me in that place. It was Jesus' place. And that ain't nothing. He could have had that place. It'd have been his place, and he'd have been just fine without me. But aren't you glad God so loved the world? Man, He gave us the greatest place, the greatest gift. Not because He felt obligated or because He felt like He owed us something, but because He loved us this morning. Me being born again, me going to that place, ain't going to make Him any more God or make it any more His or anything like that. But boy, it sure did mean a whole lot to me this morning. I'm glad He did it by His grace, aren't you? That He'd be willing to give you and I what we don't deserve. That we could say, I have a place. Romans 8 talks about our adoption. You probably know something about that as Christians. We're adopted into this family. We've been brought in, but Romans 8 says it like this. We've been made a joint heir. A joint heir with Jesus Christ. I was looking around at some of them tables there last night and food was coming in. And I was thinking, man, and I hadn't ate. We just ate a little breakfast that morning and it was just kind of a busy day. And I was at that point of being hungry. Hungry and angry. I get that way. Once I get a certain amount of hungry, I start getting ill and irritable. And boy, I wasn't spiritual. I wasn't in a good way. But I was watching that food go by and I thought, man, I wish somebody would just share their place. Look at there, there's a couple of two, that big old booth for 4. And Christy's little anyway. Boy, I wish somebody just look in there and share their place with me. Aren't you glad Jesus is willing to share His place? It's all His. He's the only begotten. Remember we talked about that a few Sundays ago? We're a creation, but He's the only begotten Son of God. That was His place. That was His inheritance. But aren't you glad that God so loved the world and that God had such a great plan of salvation, an exceedingly valuable and great plan of salvation, that Jesus, not because He owed it to us or because we deserved it, but by His grace He said, I'll share my heaven with you. I'll share this place with you. You'll be my people. You'll be my family. I'll take my enemies. We were enemy sinners, weren't we? Not only that, it's go a step further. We were Gentiles, unless maybe there's a Jew here this morning. Gentile dogs cast out and kicked out. And He said, I'll take my enemies, that I'll make them my family. And you know what happened? We became joint heirs. They took heaven's deed and they wrote my name on it. If you're saved, your name's on it. And everybody else that's saved and getting saved and going to get saved, their name will get put on it. My name's on the deed this morning. If I'd have went up to one of them tables last night and just pulled up and said, I'm going to claim this place. And you're going to share this booth. And you're going to share that tea and them rolls and that plate of food. They just said, get this man out of here. We didn't welcome him here. We didn't invite him here. We didn't ask him to come here. He's not part of us. He's a trespasser. He's in the wrong place. Boy, I'm glad that God looked down. I'm not going to enter that place a trespasser. If anybody tries to go any other way than Jesus, you can go on and read John 14. It's laid out there. He's not one of many ways or one of a few good ways. He is the only way to get to that place. You try to come any other way, you're there a trespasser. And let me go a step further and say, I'm glad He took the initiative. What do you mean, preacher? The Bible said we were all like sheep going astray. In other words, we were out here wandering in this world trying to find a place, trying to find a purpose, trying to find a meaning to this life. But aren't you glad when we were running astray and running away to our own demise, I'm glad He took initiative and stepped right on in my path. I'm glad He got right on in my way and stepped right on in and said, hey, won't you give up on this place and come to my place this morning? I'm glad when I didn't love Him, He loved me. When He was on the cross, I was on His mind. I'm glad He first loved us, aren't you? And Jesus said, no man will come to the Father except, no man can come unto me except the Father does what? Draws him this morning. But I'm glad when we were hungry and we were destitute and deserted and felt like we had no place. Aren't you glad somebody said, come on over here. Come on over here to my booth. You can be my friend. You can be my family. Here, eat some of my bread and drink some of my tea. I got a plate coming. Hey, and I'm glad He went a step further than that and said it's all paid for. It's all on me. Yeah, this place, this blessing, this state's all on me. I'll put it on my back. I'll carry it to the top of Calvary and I'll die for it and shed my blood that you can go free and have you a place this morning. What about that? That's a good God right there, ain't it? Brother, that's grace this morning. When God said, come on over here. Brother, the devil's leading our lost people today and still would like to try to confuse you and I. Think about that old song that said, my heart, how prone it is to wander, prone to leave the God I love. I believe in Him, I know He's saved, but even the devil sometimes trying to lead us astray. Leading our lost people down here. Trying to get them asphyxiated, trying to get them situated in a place down here. But aren't you glad there's a God that can say, come on over here. You don't have to sit out there and be hungry. You don't have to sit out there and be weary and burdened and covered in sin and all that. Come on over here. Bring Him some tea. Bring Him my bread. Bring Him my plate. And it's all on me. Thank God for grace. Don't you? I'm glad we have a place. We didn't have a place for Him. I'm glad He went to prepare a place for me this morning. Not for me only, but for all those who love His appearing today. I appreciate what God's made here. God made a beautiful world. Made people, born-again people. Glad for family, friends. You know what I'm saying. We all are thankful for things we have down here. But more than this world, I'm thankful for that other world. Aren't you? And I love what God's given me here, but I tell you, the older I get and the longer I stay here, the more eager I'm getting to leave. I'm tired of hearing about COVID. I mean, I know it's part of it. Might as well suck it up and deal with it, but I get tired of it, don't you? I'm tired of having to try to make decisions and figure this out and do that. Tired of seeing people hurt. Tired of seeing people die. Tired of seeing people being manipulated and deceived by the devil. Tired of the wickedness and the pain and suffering that people go through. I'd like to go on to that place. I appreciate the Lord this morning. Appreciate the hope we have. The abundance that we have right now. What we're enjoying in our heart. I don't know if our lives are ever going to get any easier down here. Probably not. It was prophesied and told us. Times will just get more troublesome down here as time went on. Times of peril. And things will just wax worse and worse. Evil men, seducers. I believe we're eyewitnesses to that, aren't we? I mean, and I know things have been bad in history, but I mean, nothing that's going on right now, does it really shock you? I mean, it does, but it doesn't. The way some things are working out, we all knew this was coming, didn't we? But I'm glad I got my place. And I'll tell you what, it's Christmas time, and we got a lot to be thankful for and different things, but when we get to a place maybe where COVID's tormenting us, cancers and trouble and trial, always be thankful that we have a place. How about what Kathy said? We ain't thankful for all the bad things that happen, but in those things. We sorrow, but yet we're rejoicing this morning. Thankful for the day He just stepped on in.
Yeah.
You're trying to find you a place, I got one for you. Hey, when He could have said, stay away from this place. You don't belong in this place. This is my place. You don't belong down here. Aren't you glad He said, come unto me, all you that are heavy laden, burdened, heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. My yoke is easy, my burden's light. I like what the old Christmas song said, oh, come, let us adore Him. Oh, come, let us adore Him. He's worthy to be worshipped, isn't He? Worthy to be praised. Worthy to be adored in His house this morning. He's worthy out there every hour of our lives, every second of our lives to be worshipped. I'm glad I've got a place. Let's all stand to our feet this morning. I hope maybe that